Okay, I'd like to talk about balancing our books under bankruptcy, the Bankruptcy Insolvency Act. Now, what I did, I went into the international, which you may not necessarily have to do, but in order, somebody had to do this, so I went online, I checked out the U.S. Federal Reserve regulations in order to find out how to balance accounts. And then I sent a copy to the International Monetary Fund, 719th Street, Northwest, Washington, D.C. 20431. And all commerce, international commerce, is actually done in the District of Columbia. When you actually start out checking out where these regulations occur, and why you can't overrule the bank, because the bank rules for the people. So you don't want to have the bank being overruled. And I copied out the regulations, but I just want to skip to here. I have this. Okay, this is the form that you, in case you want to do a search on this, A30, brackets, paragraph 205.31B, section 1, prepayment disclosures for remittance and transfers exchanged into local currency. My name, this is not a receipt, and zero balance, exchange dollar for dollars, for such obligations, transfer amount and balance. Then the next form, A31, receipt, sender, recipient, pickup location, and again I used post office for 3 copies. And this is the back page. And A32, there's a combined disclosure for remittance, transfer, exchange into local currency, and sender, recipient, pickup location, stamp. And A33, prepayment disclosures for dollar-to-dollar remittance transfer, name, effective date, stamp, not a receipt. A34, recipient dollar-for-dollar remittance for transfers, again this is a receipt, sender, recipient, pickup location, confirmation code, stamp. A35, again, combination disclosures for dollar-to-dollar remittance transfers, sender, recipient, pickup location, confirmation code, again I used the post office. A36, error and resolution and cancellation disclosures, and error and regulation cancellation period. This is the short form and the long. Also, I added in, when I covered up this, I added my authorizations to balance all my accounts. Again, I use stamps. Dollar stamp, stamp. Authorization. Here again, this is my stamp. Again, same. Balancing the books. Authorization. I didn't want to go into too much details on those. You have templates are dangerous. I'm giving an outline of where to go so you can do these yourself. When you're filing papers, you need to file affidavits in support. And what that basically means is when you're mailing, don't seem to have mislocated those. So it's you confirm the registry, and then you confirm your address and the address of the recipient. Those are the affidavits in support. You need 2 copies of those. I'll try to dig out mine. I seem to have mislocated. I'm kind of worried about this, so I'm going to stop here. Okay, I'd just like to do a little more background on affidavits. Now, once you go online and you go through the affidavits, there's certain forms. You'll find Form 17, and in the form is for service abroad of judicial or extrajudicial documents. Convention on service abroad of judicial and extrajudicial documents in civil and commercial matters, signed at The Hague, November 15, 1965. Now, it's important that you go online and you check out what this convention says, because this is how you serve papers. And the power of the post office, that the post office has a convention with all nations and for delivery of mail. So this is the basis of how you serve papers. And when you go into court and you swear out an affidavit in support, it's one for you and one for the clerk of the court. And you get choices on how you serve papers. Now, you have, if you wish, you can actually go down to the Crown Counsel's office and they'll stamp receipt on your document. So when you go back to the courthouse, it was personal service. You actually handed the document to somebody and they deliver it to the proper recipient. And then you make an affidavit that the registry is the point of contact, and then another affidavit that where you are to be contacted. So that you have to have an address that's within 30 kilometers of the registry in order to serve certain court papers. So it's important that you actually go online, go through these forms, so that you know what you're doing. Because templates are dangerous. I don't want to get into too much detail about this is what I did. I want to give you where the information, where I got the information, so that you make the appropriate decisions in your own circumstances. Otherwise, all you're doing is just copying everything that I've done, and if you get there and you don't know what it means because you really haven't worked it out yourself, it's important that you stop and you have to accept that when you're making mistakes, you have to go back and correct our errors about writing these, about quoting, mind your P's and Q's, about quotes, where you get your information. It's important that everybody needs to know where you're getting the information. The Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act, it's important to find out why you don't want to be a federal employee anymore. It's because of what you give up all your rights as an employee, is to get the benefits and privileges of slavery, because there is no money. There has never been any money. It's always been an issue of debt. You know, like we'll build this, sell it, and then when we get everything back, I'll pay you back. And nobody ever gets paid back. You know, it's always, you know, everybody's borrowing. Like who you borrowing from? Nobody stops to think about who you're borrowing from. You get out, like I did. You try to explain that, you know, you're borrowing money from me, and you got to balance the books. And my misery likes company, and you know, voting gives you the right to bitch. You know, if you don't vote, you got no right to say anything. That's not true. You know, you can opt out still. You know, they have a job to do. You have to identify the problem and get right at it. So that was just a short clip on affidavits. I thought I'd go over. As I said, I wrote the Supreme Court of the United States, and then after I wrote Parliament, continued on. I got a letter from a lawyer when I sent my authorization. So I sent a letter to the Attorney General, the legislature, and I quoted some court cases, and I just thought I'd read you this because it's really interesting. In cases involving dog ownership, is a term pursuant to state and local laws. 638. A person who exercises the act of ownership over property is presumed to be the owner of it. The courts have had to step in to fill the gaps created by these very general Californian statutes. The case law has established, for example, that one of the chief ingredients of ownership in property is the right to transfer it. Bias versus Ohio Farmers Indemnity. A common characteristics of property right is that it may be disposed or transferred to another. Douglas Aircraft versus Burham. One or more persons can be the owner and thus liable for the injuries of a third party, even though no such owner possesses all the normal ingredients of ownership. Springmeyer versus Ford Motor Company. Stardart versus Purse. Ownership is a question of fact determined by a jury under appropriate instructions of law. Hilvey versus Yachts. The following analysis was used in Elvers versus Elite Dry Cleaners Incorporated to uphold the trial judge findings that the defendant was the owner of the dog, Eric. And I wanted to quote that. So ownership and transfer of ownership. When you get a bill in the mail, one of the chief ingredients of ownership is the ability to transfer it to a third party. That's what they've been doing. Federal transfer payments. They're liable for the debt in Ottawa. So they transfer the debt back to the province of British Columbia, and then you become the taxpayers, the so-called, it's death and taxes. After you're dead, you pay your taxes. And you want to go in, and it's just going through the rules of the court and all the court forms, you notice that there are undertakings about how your books get balanced by a lawyer after you're dead. So when you go in and you start thinking about that how they turned it around, because originally it was because the provinces were indebted because of the railroad, that they were going to combine their debt, transfer it to a new corporation or department they were setting up called Canada, and where they got their land grants to put the railroad on it. And it's never, this debt just accumulated and got hit through the fog of war, through the Boer War, the First World War. Now, income tax was a temporary measure to pay for the First World War, but once they implement a tax, they would never take off a source of income for slavery. That's what this is. We're really dealing with slavery there. They don't find out till they get to Ottawa that they're slaves, because it's the nature of the beast. How the 100 monkey syndrome is part of that. But everybody's following what the protection, mob protection. You need the mob to protect you from the mob. It's two rival gangs. You got different states arguing how we have to place to settle the accounts. They turn it around, turning it around on everybody. So it's part of the big wake up that's happening. Is we're getting it together. So just gonna stop for a sec. I'd just like to quickly go over some of the documents that I've sent. So that was to the reader. I went through that one. This is BC Court of Appeals I wrote, and basically I used the Nuremberg War trials were the basis of this, the independence of the judiciary. This is the petition I wrote for the Supreme Court of the United States, and I, we the people. And it's not very long, so 3 pages. A letter to Minister of the Post Office, the Honorable Chuck Straw. He ended up resigning after he received this. It's all a coincidence, but authorization to act. And the Board of Directors got a copy. Depending on the document, some documents I used more than one stamp inside. My certified promissory note was one of them. Letter to Speaker of the House of Commons. Attention. I'll just go straight. And then I put a stamp on the 3 items, one stamp on every item so they can deal with it. Bills of exchange. And again, as they do, item 3, I defined the words. What does it mean? That's what it means. And that was that one. And then the Honorable Chuck Perry, Attorney General, Province of British Columbia, he resigned when he received this. Speak to the matter. It was over a letter I received from a lawyer. And I wrote the Supreme Court of Canada. Here, judges. Judges. That was for an application for my passport. Just where it is. That's what it is. This is my certified promissory note. And I just went through, see, depending on where I wanted this customer street, so that's why I wanted this one. Stamp, business address, items, it's a stamp, signed, sealed, date. Again, here's the stamp. Obligee, who's the obligee? Who's the obligor? 4. Statutory set off under Magna Carta. And stamp sealed. And then conditions. Stamp sealed. Again, stamp sealed. Statement of facts. Nope. I just was, know, I just wanted to. These are online. I haven't been hiding these or anything. And accept the script. It was the follow-up to from provincial government. So okay, that I should be interested in a court case. SZU versus the RCMP, and it was okay, no problem. And accept the script for discharging contempt of court charges. So that's how I handle that. And the Secretary of State, a peace agreement. I spoke to the Attorney General, or Attorney General, the Lieutenant Governor, peace treaty. This is a copy of the documents I sent to the Supreme Court of the United States. Go through some of the documents I put in. This is the protection order I wrote. This is just stating this. And this was the typo that I made a typo there. So in review, Bancroft, see, which is the file reference, but this is the original. It's just the copies of the original. The originals, triple indemnity bond I wrote to the Supreme Court. Promissory notes, promissory notes. Promissory notes. Promissory note. And my bonds. And here, this is, Canada being registered in the Supreme Court. So, made a copy. This is exactly what everybody sees. And here it is, the Canadian Embassy. Copy of the birth certificate. Security agreement. Clause. UCC filings. I did confirmation of my general delivery of my mail. I sent registered letters. Washington, Vatican, and then I went post office. Signed it. So confirmed that I'm not in jurisdiction. I got a letter back from the Royal Mail to confirm all that. And anyway, that's basically it. It's just how I went back and corrected all my errors. See, here's the original mistake. See, that's the typo. That's the correct. One typo. That's how they want to argue about everything. It's like, no. Going to court and talk to a lawyer, and it's like an argument. I don't understand the arguing part of the court. It's like, you can't win through losing. They got to put their arguments in writing because they already lost. So now come on back and put it in writing. We got to stop and think that lawyers are, if you go through the rules, if you have to hire an attorney and you start filing your own paperwork, so you want to file a notice that the lawyer can't resign. Can't go ahead. No, he's going down. he's going down to the count. I mean, once you figure this out, you get them. You know, like live bait works best. So when you're in court, and you got live bait. That's all. You know, you have to offer up that vampire or some button. That's the lawyer. That's what their job is. They're in there to go and get taught a lesson. You know, it's their rules. It's their world. You know, they're registered in the District of Columbia. They're out here. They have letters of marque, and they're out looking for pirates. We become pirates. You know, it's like we got to balance the books. There's Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act. So, again, something to think about.